KHOU-TV, Houston.
Where are you from? Where are you from?
Where are they from, Jim?
They don't speak English, they don't speak Spanish.
Where you from?
I'm from anyone.
Where you from?
2,000 illegal aliens a day have been apprehended in this region of ours. Now, something has to be done. We're doing all we can to target, to disrupt smugglers. Something's got to be done to stop the flow.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you think as many people like you should be able to come here as want to?
Why not? We are productive citizens.
What would happen to this business, to this industry, if there were no immigrant workers to do these jobs?
It would close the valley down. It would shut down the valley. And when the valley shuts down, the whole United States shuts down.
America's growth as a nation has long thrived on new blood, transfusions from afar of energy, ambition, and talent. Even when we were young, our cities just building, our frontiers open and waiting, it was never easy to pay one's dues, to find a place in the promised land. Now a new wave of immigrants is arriving, legally and illegally, perhaps the largest group of newcomers ever to reach our cities in so short a time. There are angry voices in the promised land.
My opinion, I feel like they have actually taken over.
I feel like I belong here and I like it here.
If you don't speak Spanish, you can leave, and many people left.
When I go into a business, or somebody walks up to me and say, "You picky panny?" No, I don't picky panny. I picky English.
Many Americans think there ought to be a law to slow or stop the new immigration. Congress tried to pass one last year and failed. This month, Congress will try again. Whatever the lawmakers do, someone will be hurt. Whose America is this anyway?
It's all of ours.
Whose country is it? These Cubans gonna come over here and tell me it's their language? No,
In this report, you will see and hear the human conflicts that make it hard to find a political answer to the question, whose America is it? I'm Bill Moyers.
CBS Reports Whose America Is It is sponsored by Sun Company. At Sun, we believe putting our energy back into the community is just as important as getting it out. Where there's sun, there's energy.
From all over the world, crude oil comes to this Sun Company refinery where we make Sunoco products. Since Sun produces nearly 10 million gallons of gasoline a day, one of the most important jobs we have is safety, and not just at work. Many of us use our safety training as volunteer firemen in our community. All right, you guys, let's go. At Sun, we think putting our energy back into the community is just as important as getting it out.
Where there's sun, there's energy.
Chewy, 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 puppy chow is chewy. Chewy morsels gives a puppy good things to chew. Chewy, 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 puppy chow is chewy. Now you're chewing puppy chow like you ought to do. Chewy morsels is a tender blend of pieces. Chewy morsels gives the puppy good things to chew.
Puppies love to chew, so Purina Puppy Chow brand puppy food introduces Chewy Morsels with all the extra nutrition puppies need.
Chewy morsels gives the puppy good things to chew.
For generations, immigrants arriving in America have obeyed one unspoken rule. To make it here, they or their children have had to learn English. They might dream the American dream in their native tongue, but they must speak it in English. Today, that historic transformation is being sorely tested.
Of course, 7 years ago, our father brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived and lived, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now,
so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave
that
their
we
lives.
here highly resolve that this death shall not have died in vain.
that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Officially, it's Miami Senior High, but the kids call it Havana High. There are schools like it in other American cities. We've never before tried to absorb so many newcomers who speak a single language other than English.
Tactful, all right? In English, everybody.
Even in biology, the subject is really English.
The skin of the fish.
Escamas.
How do you say escamas?
Gills.
Scales. Scales.
Scales.
The skin of the fish has scales. And the skin of the frog. Does the skin of the frog have scales?
No.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Despite the effort, despite the $18 million spent in Dade County on bilingual education, hundreds of students graduate each year who cannot speak English.
Most of the children that immigrate here that have Spanish-speaking parents speak Spanish at home, guaranteed. Not most, all.
All.
Yes.
Principal Diego Garcia has spent over 20 years teaching in Miami schools. He knows why his pupils won't give up Spanish.
They do not need English. A person can graduate from Miami High or can leave right now, go into this community, and not just make a living and survive. They can be successful out there in this immediate community. Because they don't need the language.
The Spanish is spoken so
absolutely,
generally and pervasively.
Absolutely. In this community, I can go with you right now. We can walk around a 30-block area around here. We can do anything you want to do. Whatever it is that you want, with tires, buy a car, anything you want to do, and not speak one word of English. You can start a business and make a lot of money. I know millionaires that have become millionaires here, and they've never spoken a word of English. I know a guy that ran for Congress, so I assume he had to be an American citizen, right? He ran for Congress 3 or 4 times, and he never made a speech in his life in English.
Once Miami's Hispanic rhythms were absorbed into the spicy mix of America's melting pot. But so many people have come here from Central and South America, from Cuba and the Caribbean, that Dade County is now 40% Hispanic and growing. Beyond the end of this century, just 15 years from now, Hispanics will become the largest minority in the country. Already, America is the 7th largest Spanish-speaking nation in the world. As whole communities cling to their native language, some people are feeling cornered.
They make me feel as though I'm intruding because I don't speak their language, and they resent it. I feel like I don't belong.
Terry Robbins has lived most of her life in this Miami neighborhood. Now she's in a world she never made.
Where I live, I don't feel comfortable. I feel I'm in a foreign land.
Terry Robbins works with a group called U.S. English.
Because,
its purpose is to limit public use of Spanish.
Their business is with the Cuban community.
Okay, that's all right. Don't.
It's not a popular cause with some Hispanic storekeepers.
Is this your store?
Yes, it is, sir.
I'm Bill Moyers, CBS News.
Carlos Caliero.
And Ms. Robbins.
Hi, Terry Robbins.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
U.S. English.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what U.S. English is?
No, never heard of it, to be honest with you.
U.S. English is an organization headquartered in Washington to protect the primacy of English in the United States of America. We feel that we're coming close to becoming a bilingual nation, and we want to prevent that because English is our common language.
Okay, English is our common language, but I also think it's America, it's a land for everybody, and it's always been, and some people are not as fortunate to be born in America, but I say one thing, there's a lot of people, especially down here in Miami, that the Spanish, the Cuban mainly, there's a lot of South Americans here, and they built Miami to what it is today.
But a restaurant opened up, and the advertisement came to me in my mailbox. It was in Spanish only.
Well,
what
it
is
was mainly a Spanish restaurant, probably, so they're trying to go for their trade. I do my advertising on what I have to feed my family, and if it's Spanish, the only way I could do it It's Spanish. I mean, I would love to have you as a customer. I would love to do my advertising in English and in Spanish.
And I'm going to come here
But
and
if
buy
people-
some of your pretty
No,
shoes.
I understand, but if
But
people...
feel about
this issue? How do you feel about this issue?
I think it's a racist issue, to be honest with you.
Let me tell you what it is. Now, on Miami Beach, there's a very large Russian immigrant that has come here. Now, should they demand that Russian be taught to accommodate them? We have Polish Americans here. We have German Americans here. Large numbers of those people.
Well,
now, excuse me, let me finish. What would happen if they demanded we speak Russian? If the Polish people demanded we speak Polish?
Nobody's demanding anything.
Oh, yes.
Nobody's demanding anything. I haven't heard any person saying, I demand that in Miami, everybody speaks Spanish.
Help make English the official state language of Florida.
You like to help make English the
U.S. English is making demands.
Say yes, darling. God bless America. Print your name, your address, and your city.
5 states have already designated English as the primary language of public discourse and debate.
Help make English the official language of Florida.
People take advantage of us. We give them their freedom, and then they want to take our language.
You think that's a real danger?
Yes, it is. I think it can jeopardize the situation of the country.
In what way?
Well, first of all, in Latin America, you come over here, we're giving you your freedom, and then you're going to take our languages, and we're going to, sooner or later, we're going to have to be speaking 3, 4, 5 different languages in our own country. I just don't feel that's right. I'm American. I'm of Irish heritage, but I come American first.
It's a pity that we even have to do this. But we are not the only state that has...
It is official language. No, it isn't. I disagree with you there.
Mark Vinson is a Miami businessman who wants U.S. English to become a national crusade.
It is a serious national issue in many places. The problem is in California, it's in Texas, it's in New Mexico. There's even problems in the Midwestern states now where we have Vietnamese immigrants and so forth. In San Francisco, California, the ballots are printed in 5 different languages.
Why is a common language important to this country?
Well, there are very few things that hold a society together. The glue of society has to do with its language. It certainly can't be religion because we're of diverse religions. We can't hold it together by color because we're of many different colors. The only thing Americans have in common traditionally is their language. We are a country which we want people to express their ethnicity. We want people to not bury or forget their ethnic background. But without having language as a common bond, we don't have a society any longer.
When you see an ad in the newspaper that says help wanted bilingual preferreds, and you walk in and you say, I speak Greek, that's not what they're looking for. You may be bilingual, but they really mean they want Spanish.
I spent 26 months in Vietnam, and when I came back to find out that, you know, they wanted you to speak Spanish even to get a job, you know, it had happened to me, it had happened to several of my friends, and I think that it was wrong.
Why do we have to vote on this? Really? This is our country. If they want to come here, let them learn to speak English. If they don't want to learn to speak English, put them on the boat back.
Do you sometimes feel like a stranger here?
Yes, I do. And that's why I'm leaving in about 5 months.
What do you say when people say, well, you know, you are just bigoted. You're just objecting to this because you don't want people of another race, or another color, or another culture moving into your neighborhood. What do you say to that?
I am not a bigot. I speak Spanish myself. I hate to use that expression. Some of my best friends are Cubans. They really are. And we have a great relationship. And I'm very happy to have all these people here. I'm happy to see immigrants here.
So
this is America.
The issue to you is?
Language only. Only language, that's all.
I think a lot of it has to do with the politics of it. I think to have language ghettos and have voting blocks controlled because of language separation and language ghettoization, it does come down to political power in many situations. We have entire cities and communities within Dade County, Florida, which are controlled in foreign languages.
It's completely Spanish. The majority of it is Spanish. Am I going to lose my job because I don't speak Spanish? That's very frightening.
For Beverly Barnes, the controversy over language came down to something more personal than political power or culture. It meant her livelihood. To make more money, she looked for a second job, cleaning office buildings at night, the same kind of job sought by new Hispanic immigrants. Beverly and her sister Shirley heard that a cleaning contractor had openings. They drove over to apply.
We got there at 6. It was 2 people ahead of us. We all opened, you know, the guy opened the door and we all went in. On the table is one table and chairs sitting all the way around. And he went in his office and he sat down. He called one young lady in, Spanish. He came out, he said something in Spanish, and he went back in his office. So I looked at Shirley, and Shirley looked at me.
What did he just say?
And we said, we'll wait on him to come back.
And say it in English.
And say it in English.
You would have waited, too.
And we waited, and he only called this young lady in, and she was in there for 45 minutes. So I said, look like we better find out if someone here speaks English and can help us fill this application out. It was Spanish, and we turned it over, and there was blank. It was blank. I said, do you have any English applications? And he said no.
But you couldn't fill out that.
Oh, of course
we could not fill out that application.
The only thing we seen on there was interviewed by. That's the only thing we could understand on the whole thing. Interviewed by.
Were you told point blank that you couldn't have the job because you couldn't speak Spanish?
Yes. His words were, not directly, but most of his words were that he couldn't place us because we wouldn't be able to communicate with the other employees.
Right. All of whom were
Spanish. And I said, you don't need to speak or communicate with the other employees because you're on a floor by yourself. He said, but all the supervisors spoke Spanish too, and we needed to communicate with them. I feel like if I want to learn Spanish to be able to compete with them, then I think I should be able to do that on my own. I don't think you and no one else should be able to tell me that I have to have Spanish. Not in my country.
Yeah, this is
America,
America, they forget. This is not Castro's Cuba.
Now, if
I don't mind them. I think they should come over and learn our language. And then if they do have the both languages, that's better for them in the job market. Don't tell us we have to speak your language in order to keep a job here in America. That doesn't make sense.
The sisters took to the law and won in a ruling that may trigger other challenges like it. A Dade County board said the ability to speak Spanish cannot be a job requirement for cleaning. As so often happens in the human conflicts over immigration, someone lost the job Beverly Barnes won. She says this troubles her yet, but that something personal and important to her was at stake.
Christmas was coming up. I was saving for a home. I wasn't getting my kids anything for Christmas because we were saving for a home. And that second job meant something. It meant I would at least get one gift if I didn't get anything else. And that was important. But they offered me the Christmas money now if I dropped the case.
Yeah.
Well, they did.
Oh, yes.
They offered to settle?
Yeah, like we wanted just some money. That's what we thought it was. That's how we felt. They want to offer us money to just keep us quiet.
Some employers have told us that immigrants will take jobs native-born Americans don't want, that this is the kind of work that they cannot get native-born Americans to take.
Such as?
Cleaning.
I do that.
Cleaning the toilet. Then again, sometimes I feel like they would take less pay because they need it.
Are they Americans in your judgment, once they've been here? Are they as American as you?
Nope. In a way, I guess, yes. They're here, and they have to live their lives here. They have to build their whatever they're going to build. They have to build
They're hardworking people. They are. I've known so many of them. They're hardworking. They want to be free, and they want to be American to be their home. And I'm all for it. I want America to be everybody's home. That's what we're here for. America's supposed to be a country where everybody can make it their own home. But I don't want them to all take my job away from me either. And what they do is they all get in a building, and one of them maybe get the big position, then they hire their family, they hire their cousins, and where does that leave me? Out of a job.
We might have to start speaking Spanish. But then I just see that a lot of people's going to leave Dade County.
Have you given some thought to that, to actually leaving Miami?
I gave it a lot of thought, and it's kind of frightening to me.
As of now, you're staying?
As of now, I'm staying.
Working 2 jobs?
Working 2 jobs.
Did your children get that one gift for Christmas?
Yes, they got their house.
So you have a new house?
Yes, I have a new house.
They call this cattle country. It's also where a lot of America's coal is. So when Sun Company built the Cordero mine here, folks worried about the future of the land. But Sun also developed this land reclamation center to make sure the land is properly restored. At Sun, we think putting our energy back into the land is just as important as getting it out.
Where there's sun, there's energy.
Hey, Mom, want to see a neat trick? Sure. Look, you can read your name in the table.
Uh-huh, that's because I dust with Pledge. It gives my wood a beautiful deep shine every time I dust. Look at this. My old polish looks blurry, but Pledge is so clean, so clear, my wood shines deep. See? Really beautiful.
Mom, I know why you always use Pledge.
Why?
Because it has deep shine. Neat, huh?
Dust with Deep Shine Pledge every time.
I wonder if that's for me.
I got your number, cupcake, sweet talk in disguise. You sweet talker, Betty Crocker. You sweet talker, Betty Crocker. I tumble and I crumble when you ripple and rise.
Is he getting a bigger piece than me?
You sweet talker, Betty Crocker.
What's this?
It sure isn't our macaroni and cheese.
Presenting Velveeta Shells and Cheese Dinners.
Why did Mommy switch?
Velveeta Shells and Cheese Dinners taste creamier because we start with creamy Velveeta cheese sauce, not a powder.
We liked our old macaroni and cheese.
With pasta shells that hold on to that creamy Velveeta.
This tastes creamier than our old macaroni and cheese. I hope you learned your lesson.
Velveeta Shells and Cheese Dinners taste creamier than the rest because it's Velveeta.
We didn't do it.
132 years.
We are in a maximum security prison.
We are two innocent men who are going to break out of here.
And the smash hit movie Stir Crazy is breaking out as a hilarious new series. Get there any way you can, but don't miss the premiere of Stir Crazy, Wednesday, September 18th.
There's a strange noise in the house, but you're home alone. Coming to CBS Friday, September 27th, The Twilight Zone.
A detention center for captured aliens. They come not just from Mexico, but from Central and South America. They're illegals, but don't think of themselves as criminals. They have come for economic freedom, political freedom, people yearning for America. They didn't make it. The government says there is good reason to detain these people, much as they call out to us. The golden door has turned to barbed wire. On both sides of the border, the stakes are higher than ever. You can take their measure along these 16 miles of the border south of San Diego, California. On one side, an army of aliens waiting to move north when night falls. On the other side, the Border Patrol, charged with turning the aliens back. It's a costly defense, over $150 million this year. Only one of every 2 or 3 of the aliens crossing this border tonight will be caught. They'll take the risk and suffer the humiliations because the rewards of living and working in America seem to them to be so great.
Yeah, you get something above you on the side hill. It sounded like there was some more stuff coming down the trail. Down the bottom here on the left.
That next off-ramp should be 43rd.
I remember that light, and every time the light came, we throw ourselves in the ground. And then he gave us a signal, and we started to run, you know. ¿Y su nombre?
Alicia Rivera is here illegally, married now and the mother of 2 children. 5 years ago, she and a brother and sister made their first try to cross the border.
In El Salvador, I used to work within the Catholic Church. And after my priest was killed, and after many of my neighbors were killed, and some of my brother's schoolmates, we decided to leave El Salvador. We tried to cross the border. The first time we came 3 times.
3 times?
The 3 times we were arrested in San Diego. By U.S. immigration officials, and we were deported back to the Mexican border 2 times. And then the 3rd time they arrested us, we were deported to El Salvador. After 2 weeks being back there, 2 of my uncles had been killed by the death squad, and my 87-year-old grandfather had been beat up to death by death squad. So we left again to Mexico, and this time we hired a smuggler.
A smuggler?
In Mexico.
What's the term for that?
We call it coyote.
Coyote.
Mm-hmm. And this time, through them, we got here to the United States.
How much did you have to pay the coyote, the smuggler?
$3,500 for
How much?
For $3,500. We came from Tecate, Baja California, to somewhere in Tijuana, and seeing all the people who were coming down the hill to get across, I thought that we were all going to come at a time, and I didn't want to come because I said we're all going to be arrested. I was just terrified. It was at about 6:30. It was starting to get dark. Sometimes we ran, others we throw ourselves in the ground when this coyote told us to, and others we stopped for a while to hide in some bushes, and like that until it was about 5:30 in the morning. We walked all night. And there we stopped in a house, somebody's house, and they feed us. And from there we came into Los Angeles in a truck. 12 people laying down like sardines, and we are told not to move 1 finger, you know, not to lift at the head.
What was going through your mind through all of this?
Just get there, get really far from my country, you know. And after being deported the first 2 times, it sounded like impossible to come to the United States, because the first time I remember that all I had to do was get across the fence, you know, a fence, and in the other side I could see the signs of McDonald's and other things from here, and it looked so impossible to get to those places there, to the other side. And when we get here, I just cried and prayed, because it looked like you have gotten somewhere where you're not going to be chased anymore.
You're free?
Like you're free, you know, but then I thought in all the people I had left behind, my parents, and all the people who were being killed, and can't stop to think in everyone else, everybody you left behind.
No one knows how many have come, like Alicia, and stayed. Estimates range from 2 to 12 million.
Walking by the front of the car now?
The Border Patrol pursues them one by one. But it is also up against growing networks of smugglers who move the aliens in groups.
Okay. You don't have a plate or a make?
Many immigrants coming long distances will turn over their life savings to smugglers who promise to cut the risks of the journey.
Okay, we got a white Maverick, 2 Bravo Foxtrot Lima, 856.
Coyotes who bring immigrants over the border often sell them to other smugglers who in turn deliver them to safe houses for hiding.
Morning, U.S. Immigration Service. ¿Eh? U.S. Servicio de Inmigración, tenemos un orden de revisar la casa. Abra la puerta.
Immigration officials expected to find 30 to 40 people on this raid, but came up empty.
They tipped. Those two guys tipped them, no doubt about it.
Yeah, they're waiting.
That's it.
They found only discarded foreign identity cards and wads of dollars and pesos. This year, although the Border Patrol received its biggest budget ever, the smugglers have more money to spend too.
We're seeing more and more large smuggling rings that are being...
Harold Ezell, Western Commissioner of the Immigration Service.
That are doing from $200,000 to $500,000 a month in business. A month? This is tax-free business. And the draw that has to be dealt with in our nation is the draw of jobs.
What do you mean? They come...
Well, they're coming here for jobs. From El Salvador, Guatemala, or Mexico, they're coming for jobs. And the only deterrent that's going to change the condition of the flood of illegal aliens in this nation is a deterrent called sanctions against employers.
Penalize the employers for hiring them.
Knowingly hiring an illegal alien. Our country has a national crisis on its hands.
You think it is a crisis?
There's no question about it. Outside of the debt that we face as a nation, outside of national defense, the national crisis of illegal aliens is something that this nation must face, or there will not be a nation as we know it today in the next 10 years.
Say illegal immigrant, and most Americans think of Hispanics. But the new news is that Asians, legal and illegal, are the fastest growing ethnic group. They breach the border in a different way. They're flown in with false papers, or they'll get a tourist visa and just never go home again. They come to stay, especially in Silicon Valley, where high tech is hooked on illegal immigrants who are good workers.
Gosh, we got Spanish, we got Vietnamese, we got Salvadorians. In just looking around, there's all nationalities. There's Koreans, there's Chinese, there's Japanese up here, there's a Jamaican up here, there's blacks scattered out. I'm a minority in my own shop.
Earl Lauder runs a small electronics shop in San Jose.
They are so close-knit. The Vietnamese are close-knit, and you just won't catch anybody. If they're illegal, you will not catch them because they will tell one another and they would all get up and leave. And it won't surprise me if some of them don't get up and leave now.
Because of our presence?
Because of your presence in here now. Because there's 18 people missing today.
18 who didn't come to work?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I told them you were coming in.
And they didn't want to take the chance?
They didn't want to take the chance of getting
So I could reasonably conclude that they are illegal.
You said it, I didn't.
When I walk around here, I see very fine work being done. Thousands of little pieces of electronic instruments being welded into a board, into a plate, into a computer mind, really. Now, you don't think there are Americans who can do that?
Yeah, there's Americans that can do it, but where are you going to find them? The Americans don't want jobs out here. And these people are making $5, $6, $7 an hour. Some are making as high as 10 and 12.
Immigration agents have asked Earl Lauder to turn over his personnel records to help them spot the illegals. He's under no obligation to do so. An employer breaks no law by hiring undocumented workers.
One girl has been working for me for 6 years. She's a good worker. She's a good worker. She's been with me. Why should I take and lay her off because I know she's illegal? It's not my job to send her back to Mexico or to call INS and say, hey, come handcuff this girl. I won't do it. So maybe I'll go to jail.
Is it fair to put the burden for this on the employer?
No, sir. Not one bit. I think it should be solved at the border. Really. Once they get in, let them stay.
Under this snow, there's more oil than in Saudi Arabia. 20 years ago, Sun Company developed the process to get oil from tar sands. Since then, a lot's developed around here. Jobs, a community, hockey teams. The energy's not just under the snow, it's everywhere, even on the ice. At Sun, we think that putting our energy back into a community is just as important as getting it out.
Where there's sun, there's energy.
Max Factor was the man who made generations of moviegoers see red. From Rita Hayworth's Slush Lips to the red-hot glamour of Marilyn Monroe. Now, Max Factor's passion for red comes roaring back in fashion with a great glamorous reds. Rich, bold, non-stop colors to light up the season's most dazzling looks. Go ahead. Go red. With Max Factor, the glamour goes on. Thanks, Max.
CBS Reports will continue.
Wednesday,
You took 2 kids to a murder scene.
Jackson plays a real game of cops and robbers on I Had 3 Wives.
This is not going to be a good day.
Then, a promising young life is tragically snuffed out by a drunken driver. James Ferrantino and Don Murray star in the gripping story, License to Kill, Wednesday.
Tomorrow on CBS.
Judd McElvain, Houston's one-man investigative team, scooping the city for almost 20 years. Tough, aggressive, and always on the move. McElvain, setting the record straight for the people of Houston. When there's a story to be told, turn to the McElvain files for all the facts. Judd McElvain, only on 11 News. Get it from a reliable source.
Photos of the Titanic at 10.
The skyline of Dallas is the symbol of Sunbelt power and wealth, a new American economy glistening with skyscrapers and ambitions to match. As with earlier American wealth, these new riches are being created with the help of immigrant muscle. And as in days gone by, we are ambivalent about it. There are winners and losers. So many illegal immigrants now lay the cornerstones of Dallas prosperity that the labor unions are fighting back, protesting the loss of jobs and wages. To record the presence of illegal or undocumented workers, union leaders are on the scene with newfangled video and old-fashioned indignation.
Art Chaskin for the Texas Building Trades, May 16th, 1985 in Dallas, Texas. I'd like to take this to Washington, D.C., let them know that on this one job alone, there are 71 workers on this job who would readily admit that they are undocumented workers working for anywhere from $4 to $7 an hour. The rightful heirs to these jobs are U.S. tax-paying citizens. If only half of them were illegal, the local Dallas, Texas Employment Commission office could man this job without a work people, whether they're union or non-union.
In other words, you think there are legal workers who could do these jobs?
Right close to this job site, there is enough workforce that they could man this job.
That may be so, but the illegals who have jobs will tell you the issue for them is also survival.
Where are they from, Robert?
This young man readily said the money he earns goes to his family in Mexico.
How long has he been here?
¿Y qué tanto tiempo tienes de estar aquí?
Tengo 1 año, 8 meses.
1 year, 8 months.
Is he documented or undocumented?
¿Eres documentado o sin documentación? Without documentation.
Did the boss, did the jefe ask him if he was legal?
¿El jefe te preguntó si eras legal? No, he didn't ask.
Did he ask for papers?
Te pidió papeles.
No más seguro social, pero papeles de documentación.
Just for Social Security, but for documentation, no.
Did he have papers for Social Security?
¿Y trae el seguro social?
Sí.
Yes.
How did he get those?
¿Cómo tuviste eso?
Medida de la razón.
We managed to get them.
It's not hard.
No es difícil obtenerlo, ¿verdad? No.
Do they ever get any hostility from the American citizens, the Anglos?
¿Has tenido experiencias
because they are taking jobs that Americans can't get.
Quitando trabajo a los americanos.
Eso sí, de que dice que está uno aquí, el trabajo es de lo peor que puede haber.
This is the worst kind of job. Yeah, they say that. They say that they hate us because we've come here to take their jobs. But I know that this kind of work is the worst kind of work there can be. And I know that nobody wants to do this.
He doesn't think Americans... What about that? What about that? Are there Americans who would take these jobs if they weren't here, do you think?
Sure.
That's all I've ever done. I haven't done anything else.
We all started somewhere. You know, so there's people out here willing to go to work that can't go to work because there's people here taking their job from them.
Now, you know, how do you explain the fact that he said to me when he applied for a job, nobody asked him about his documentation, but now the boss knows he is an illegal, but yet he's still working?
He's a good hand.
He's a good hand.
He'll work.
How much does he make an hour?
$8.
$8 an hour.
I know our wages has already come down. I mean, in Houston, a journeyman iron worker was making $15.46. Now it's down to $10 an hour.
Why?
Why? Because the companies are bidding the jobs cheaper because they're using illegal aliens. That's why.
In other words, they can bid a lower bid because they got cheaper labor.
Sure.
So do you think it's you think it is lowering the wages of American workers?
I know it is.
What would solve the immigration problem? You have an idea? What do you think we ought to do?
I got an idea.
What?
I think each company that's caught with an illegal alien over here working for them should be fined $2,000 per head. That would stop a lot of it. That would wipe a company out.
They can't get no jobs, they won't come over.
Make it unprofitable to hire them.
Yeah.
The only thing that's ever going to stop it is the government. Our government decide they want to stop it.
You think the government wants to stop it?
No.
Why?
Well, our governor's already said he wanted to open up the border. He don't care.
You think the politicians don't want to face the issue?
They don't want to face it at all. That's the only thing that'll ever stop it.
Now, we're not in a system of where we're building a transcontinental railroad and have to bring in Chinese. This is modern age.
So to pressure the politicians, the unions are taping their own documentary.
Certainly it's disastrous in these people's home country, but it's going to be a disaster here. Now, they're going to stop coming here someday, but if they do, it won't be worth being here.
The union leaders took their tapes to Capitol Hill this summer. The bill Congress is now considering would punish employers who knowingly hire illegals.
There they are. And if you'll notice, their attitude is blatantly different than what it used to be. They don't run and hide anymore. They're on the inside looking out, laughing at us. See, this is what we want you to see.
For 3 years, the House and Senate have tried to reach agreement on a bill and failed.
These guys have taken their time to come all the way down here to Washington. They need somebody to tell their story to. And why don't we...
We need to hear some more stories.
Yeah, that's right.
We've heard nearly every story in the world.
If you don't, y'all excuse me, I'm just a carpenter's assistant.
No, that's all right.
What I want to talk about is the effects, overall effects. It's putting us out of business. 2 years ago, we had 8,500 members in the carpenters organization. Now we've got 6,500 members. We're asking for survival.
We've lost thousands of jobs in the construction industry, both union and open shop. We're talking downtown high-rise construction, not rural areas, not picking strawberries. We don't know. We're not legislators. We don't know how to draft laws, but we do know there's a problem out there. We can bring you the problem and hope that all of you can sit down and come up with something and expedite it. We need help quick out there. We got big problems.
I can appreciate the problems you have. But I also must tell you that if your name was Garcia or Gonzalez or Rodriguez, and if you looked a little different than you do look, the average person has a hard time distinguishing between those of us who are Americans and those of us who probably just came across the border. And so that's why I have been vehemently, and I will continue to be opposed to employer sanctions.
We can look for the perfect bill. I just don't think it's out there.
You know, that is a point, and I just, you gentlemen, tell me if this is what you're saying. You're saying that if the present immigration laws, which are a joke, aren't changed and tightened up, we just have the bottom of the ladder fighting against the bottom of the ladder for the benefit of the people at the top of the ladder.
If you removed all of those people, and all of those jobs became available, I doubt very much if what thereafter, the higher wage would then be the order of the
Bobby,
day.
I gotta disagree. You know, it's been a history of this country that big management and labor is... Can I make my point?
Chuck,
No.
Chuck, just let me say.
Okay. I think right now we're getting a lot of lip service.
Chuck, the fact of the matter...
We are being invaded.
Invaded?
As surely as if we were being invaded by an enemy dropping bombs on us.
But these people come to help. They come to support their families. They come to do good by themselves.
I see that through their eyes, but I also see it through our eyes, that we're as severely impacted as they are.
Illegals have something to say, too. With the support of legal immigrants, they're trying to defeat the bill that would penalize employers who hire them. This fall, there will be a day of national demonstrations.
From now until October 12th,
it's a new tactic for people who once hid in the shadows. They're laying claim to citizenship by the very fact of their presence in person. Carmen has been here 14 years.
The undocumented worker is organizing. The undocumented worker is learning its rights. The undocumented worker knows now that it's not a crime to come to this country seeking a job, an honest job, a way to support their families, and they know now that the right to go and search for happiness is not a right for the Anglo-American only.
Do you think, as an undocumented worker, that you should have the same rights as an American citizen?
The only difference between an American citizen and an undocumented worker is a piece of paper. There's nothing in the tax that I pay that says this dollar bill is paid by an undocumented worker, therefore is worth less. The same taxes you pay, I pay. Maybe less because you earn more than I do. But other than that, there's no such difference between you and I. So what is the big deal? You know, we are paying taxes. We are producing.
You say you're not a criminal, but you are here illegal. And you're risking a lot by speaking up, aren't you? By becoming public, by taking a stand like you did tonight in this meeting?
Yes, I know.
What could happen to you?
I can be deported.
Back to Mexico?
Yes. But I'm doing this because my children are American citizens. I have 4 sons. And I want them to be, when they're grown up, to say, my mother fought for the ideals that she believed in, for her principles, for her values. I don't want my kids to say, my mother just sit there and waited for the migra to come and pick her up.
La Migra, the Immigration Service, says it has a policy to enforce, and officials are asking for a new weapon, employer sanctions. There's talk that without sanctions, it will be necessary to station soldiers on the border to repel the aliens. Just about everyone agrees the present system isn't working. Western Immigration Commissioner Harold Ezell.
The problem we have in this nation is the silent invasion of thousands of people every day that are coming into this nation.
In your judgment, what happens if we don't get control of this problem?
We're going to lose America. America will not be the nation of freedom and democracy and the pursuit of happiness and all of the goals and the great, wonderful things that we experience in America.
But aren't these people here because they want to live in a democracy? They want to be free, and they're pursuing happiness.
But you've got to be able to control how they fit in to our society and how we can assimilate the people. We're bringing over 500,000 a year legally, and we're fitting those people in. It's those who are invading this nation by feet that are going to overthrow what we understand and enjoy as a culture. We can't roll over and say, this is it. We surrender to all of the other countries of the world. You know, we've got a sovereign right to control these borders. We should not be at the mercy of Mexico or any other nation because of their economic needs or their political unrest. Whatever it happens to be in Latin America should not be the factor that pushes the people into America.
But we have a sovereign right, but not the sovereign capacity. We just aren't able to stop it. They keep coming.
We have the sovereign capacity, but Congress has got to get off dead center and bite the bullet and pass immigration law reform that makes it illegal to hire illegal aliens.
We're going to send about 10 guys, 8 to 10 guys ahead of the rest of us, and then the bulk of us will be up here. We'll serve the warrant as quick as we can, and then we'll move our officers in, and once we are in the building...
On the DRs,
the immigration raids go on. Enforcers say if they get a law that holds the employers responsible, their chances of success will increase. Employers who say they need illegal workers to stay in business don't like the intrusion.
U.S. immigration officers?
Who are these guys? To search your property for aliens.
Excuse me. Who are these guys?
Who are these
guys?
With you? You need to...
They are with you?
Okay.
They are with immigration?
Hit them for entry. Go ahead. Okay, guys, come on through the front door.
This employer didn't even want to talk about it.
Please leave the premises. Sure. Please get off the premises. Please. Fellow, I'm not going to tell you again.
But then he relented and invited us in.
Yeah, they were clean shirts, probably part of my profit, but that's all right because this is the American way, right?
Before I came down.
You don't want to open this door for us, sir? No. We'll cut the padlocks then that we have to cut.
Why don't you cooperate? Just unlock the door.
Why don't you cooperate? Leave my building. Okay, let me do my business. How many times are you going to search? How many times are you going to go through? What more do you want?
Mike, there's about 4 or 5 of us tied up out front, putting the bodies on.
The employer didn't want his illegal workers identified. He said it was a matter of his livelihood and theirs. But he went on the record to say what a lot of businessmen think.
I will lost about $150,000 a day because of this. Okay, while they pick up everybody suspect of being, what, a criminal, heathen, illegal, alien, whatever. For what? Okay, what are we doing here? Look at that. Just get right over there. They handcuff them, search them, take everything off of their possession. Whether or not they're legal, that'll be determined later. I do not investigate them. I don't call these people to run a search on them. These people are not a service that will verify it.
You ever tried to verify it?
Do you guys? No way.
And who would you try to?
I'm not required to. Law doesn't say I have to.
You know, it's illegal to be here, but it's not illegal to work here, and that's a law that's got to be changed.
I have not violated a law.
That's right.
Why do you come to my place of employment?
Because these people have broken the federal immigration laws being here. That's
why don't you go to the strawberry patch? Why don't you go on the corners from Santa Ana to wherever and pick them up off the streets, okay?
We do as much as we can.
Well, you've got a force here, a regular goddamn army, doing as much as you can. How many of those people are you going to send back to me Monday morning?
I'm not sending any of them back to you.
You want to bet?
They're set up for a deportation hearing. They go before an immigration judge who's part of the Justice Department, the United States, and have their due process. Now, that's what makes America great, that you got freedom like that, to give somebody who legally shouldn't even be here the right for due process under deportation hearing. So tell me what's the matter with that law.
Most of the immigrants arrested this day were back at work a week later. The company posted bail for many of them. Keep that in mind. The illegal aliens want the work, and employers want them. It's an unofficial bargain that's not going away overnight. The issue isn't going away overnight either. The pressures of population, poverty, and politics, coupled with the promise of America, keep pushing the world to our borders. Our current policy is immigration anarchy, full of holes and hypocrisy. The immigrants keep coming, creating a country within a country, their language and culture enabling them to resist assimilation. In the eyes of many Americans, this is a threat to English as the language of citizenship, to the livelihood of people already here, and to America's sense of nationhood. The desperation and frustration are reaching a flashpoint, the voices becoming angrier as this nation of immigrants debates what to do about the new strangers in our midst. For CBS News, I'm Bill Moyers.
Look, I never lost so much weight before. This time, I didn't just diet. I added Dexatrim to my diet. Dexatrim made all the difference. I just wasn't as hungry all day.
Studies show that compared to dieting alone, people who added Dexatrim to their diets lost 50% more weight.
Dexatrim was amazing. I could feel the change in my appetite. I ate less, and I lost more weight.
Don't just diet. Diet with Dexatrim and lose more weight.
All you gotta do is smell the morning splash on Old Spice. Now you're moving, isn't it nice? Up and at 'em, don't think twice. Pour out a handful, splash on some Spice.
Nobody sends more guys out there alive and awake than unmistakably masculine Old Spice.
Now you're moving, don't think twice. Splash on the feeling, splash on some Spice.
set a new standard for children's pain relievers with the first line of alcohol-free products, Children's Panadol. No alcohol, no sugar, no aspirin.
Children's Panadol for Bobby. Maximum strength Panadol for Dad.
For adults, Panadol set a standard worldwide for aspirin-free safety and effectiveness. 2 tablets are 1,000 milligrams strong. Panadol has no ibuprofen, no caffeine, no aspirin, yet relieves pain as effectively as aspirin. World-proven Panadol, a standard in aspirin-free relief.
People get a lot of fish out of these waters, and Sun Company gets a lot of oil. Over 3 million barrels a year. We know that sea life was here long before we were. This is a drill. That's why we have practice drills like this. In case of a spill, our containment unit would quickly surround the oil and help prevent damage. At Sun, we think putting our energy back into the environment is as important as getting it out.
Where there's sun, there's energy.
Tonight, it's one of America's favorite entertainers, Barbara Mandrell, singing and swinging with some of country music's biggest superstars. Barbara Mandrell, something special. Then, meet the men whose job is to kill, the execution squad of Death Row. You never know what will happen on West 57th, right after Barbara Mandrell, tonight.
Every crook's nightmare, every woman's fantasy. Kevin Dobson is Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. I'm in the book. In Margin for Murder, Friday.
Tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central on CBS Sports, join Brent Musburger for the results and highlights from the day's play at the U.S. Open Tennis Championships. Now stay tuned for a singing, swinging hour of music and comedy. Barbara Mandrell welcomes guest stars Roy Acuff, Lee Greenwood, and many more on Barbara Mandrell, Something Special, next.
CBS Reports, Whose America Is It?, was sponsored by Sun Company. At Sun, we believe putting our energy back into the community is just as important as getting it out. Where there's sun, there's energy.
This gentle, loving man became a hero. But they thought he meant her harm. Now, one by one, they're being murdered. But who is his avenger? His mother? The girl whose life he saved? Or is it the Scarecrow? Dark Night of the Scarecrow, Saturday.
In the early 1800s, no college accepted women. In 1819, Emma Willard's plan for improving female education was presented to the New York legislature. But Emma Willard was attacked for interfering with God's will. Emma Willard persisted. She founded the Troy Female Seminary, America's first college-level school for women. Until then, women had been considered incapable of learning such formidable subjects as science and mathematics. Thanks to Emma Willard, they not only mastered them, but as school teachers went on to teach them to the next generation of boys and girls. This is Arlene Dahl with an American Portrait.
This is the symbol of reliable overnight delivery. Express mail service from the post office. We deliver excellence for less.
Share a little bit of yourself without even knowing. When you share a little bit of yourself, you'll find good feelings growing.
Share something no one else can. Yourself. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons.
This is CBS.